It's a great pleasure for me to be here this morning to open this very important dialogue on applying a gender lens to the UN guiding principles on business and human rights. I must thank the UN Human Rights Office, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights for the Pacific based in Suva, for this timely accomplishment, as there are many developments in the country that will benefit from the awareness arising from a robust and honest dialogue today. I'm told that Mr. Surya Deva, who's here with us today, the chair of the working group, who has recently concluded a similar consultation at a regional dialogue in India, will be speaking to us this morning as well. Women experience business-related human rights abuses in unique ways and are often affected disproportionately. They also face multiple forms of discrimination and experience additional barriers in seeking access to effective remedies for business-related human rights abuses. Therefore, in order to effectively meet their respective human rights duties and responsibilities under the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, states and business enterprises need to give special attention to the unique experiences of women and the structural discrimination or barriers that they face. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that our dialogue today can symbolize and in very real terms accelerate Fiji's determination to hold true to the key principles which underpin sustainable peace and development across the world, the principles of justice, equality, human dignity, as encapsulated by human rights. Human rights are not an afterthought. They are not a second stage, which countries can begin to construct after development is well underway. They are not a project which unfolds after peace has been established. Rights are the drivers of development. Rights are the constructive elements of peace. The cornerstone of good governance is the upholding of human rights. Any government which fails to respect and promote human rights is failing its people and damaging its own efficacy. For the Fijian government, the human rights of every Fijian citizen are guaranteed under the Constitution. This is complemented by the establishment of the Fiji Human Rights and Anti-Discrimination Commission to seek redress on human rights violations, and Fiji's commitment during the Human Rights Council's UPR in 2010 to ratify all international human rights instruments within 10 years. Fiji's commitment in this regard has been top on government's agenda, as witnessed by ratification in 2014 of the UN Convention Against Torture, our ratification of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities last year, and the more recent tabling in Parliament of the UN International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the UN International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, with the intention of parliamentary approval for ratification. The universality of rights binds humanity together across all our diversities in the conviction that born we all are equal in dignity and rights. However, violence and discrimination against women was listed as one of the leading human rights violations in the Fiji 2016 Human Rights Report. This was also highlighted by the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights after his recent visit to Fiji. Initiatives like today's stakeholder consultation is crucial to eliminating the various forms of violation of women's human rights in our country, from the home to the workplace. All businesses are sure to benefit more from true gender equality. The application of a gender lens to the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, which underlie the dialogue that will follow, sits on 7 empowering principles for women, which you can use to empower women in the workplace, marketplace, and community. The principles emphasize the business case for corporate action to promote gender equality and women's empowerment. These principles are the result of collaborations between the UN Global Compact and UN Women and are adapted from the Calvert Women's Principles. They're informed by real-life business practices and input gathered from across the globe. These principles can also inform other stakeholders, including governments, as they engage with business. So why is gender so important in the world of business and human rights? Let's take Fiji as an example. In the 2017 Gender Gap Index, Fiji scored around 0.4 out of 1 in women's economic empowerment. Economic empowerment is one of the 4 measurable indicators used by the World Economic Forum for gender equality. It looks at women's access to finance, bank accounts, and economic resources. True economic empowerment cannot be achieved without respecting the key principle of gender equality in business. To business leaders, you know that responsible businesses cannot thrive in failing societies, where tension spikes and communities bristle with grievances and mutual contempt. Strong civil societies, due process, equality, and justice, these are what enable real economic empowerment. By maintaining business practices that are free from human rights abuses across your supply chains, you know that you can both uphold your own corporate reputation and contribute powerfully to greater stability and a bit better business environment everywhere you operate. By taking action to combat discrimination, inequality, xenophobia, violence, and hate, you can help to build societies that are more inclusive, cohesive, and strong. By moving forward in the implementation of the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, by taking steps to uphold the rights of workers and communities affected by your operations, and by standing up for people whose rights are at risk, you can enrich societies financially and in their deeper values. Governments need to step up and ensure deeper and more concerted action to meet their duties to protect people and address harms when business activities fall below human rights standards. But the task of ensuring respect for human rights is too important to be left to governments alone. In this time of rising concerns, we count on you to take up the human rights agenda and help us continue to build an inclusive business society that sits on a strong human rights platform. With these words, I'd like to wish us all the best in the dialogue that will follow, and I'm sure that the outcomes of today's dialogue will be beneficial for inclusive development in our business community in Fiji. Thank you.